I know you've been on the phone overnight when this was happening to people in Kiev. What was the feeling in the capital?
Hi, thanks for having me. I talked to several of my friends. It was a sleepless night in Kiev. A lot of people waited for the speech of the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that was aired at 2 a.m. Kiev time. The mood is extremely worried, but at the same time, I can tell that the Ukrainian people are feeling more unified. The past night, I've seen so many Facebook posts, social media posts in support of Ukrainian integrity and people saying that they're ready to defend their country. But the stress is taking toll on the Ukrainians because the military buildup has been for several months, and there have been reports of the imminent invasion any day. I talked to my Ukrainian friend who is a journalist. She told me that she developed a rash from the stress of recent months. So to summarize what people are feeling, everyone is extremely anxious, of course, everyone is scared. But people are extremely determined to defend if necessary.
And the justification given for the incursion in the speech by the president was claims of genocide of ethnic Russians occurring in eastern Ukraine and the suggestion of NATO aggression. What was your response to hearing those sorts of claims?
The allegation of genocide of Russian speakers or any discrimination happening in Ukraine are completely false. The majority of Ukrainians are bilingual. Ukrainian and Russian languages are mutually intelligible, and many Ukrainians speak Russian in their daily life. The other question is that Ukrainian is a state language by the constitution, so naturally the bureaucracy, the government, state services, education are in Ukrainian language. So people have to know both. As for the NATO expansion to the east, I think it's been talked about many times. There hasn't been any tangible date for Ukraine's membership for the NATO. If we have to look at the real reasons, not at the pretext that President Vladimir Putin has been giving over the years. And the real reason has not changed since 2014. It's him basically trying to retain influence over the country whose statehood, whose existence he's been denying.
Yeah. Greg Sheridan, why now? Why would Putin be doing this now? And how does it serve him in a power sense?
Well, Ellen, I think Putin is both an opportunistic, individualistic and narcissistic dictator, but he also does represent a continuity with deep Russian elements of identity. So for centuries, there's been an anti-Western tilt to Russian identity. You find it in Dostoevsky's novels. You know, Dostoevsky is a profoundly religious Russian Orthodox writer. He has his most favourable character say, our Christ must stand against the Western godlessness and so forth. Putin also has made a state ideology of the idea that Russia has been humiliated since the fall of communism and the dismemberment of the Soviet Union. So he has had a long-term ambition to re-establish absolute domination over the former states of the Soviet Union and then the former states of the Warsaw Pact, which border the Soviet Union. He is partly empowered by the tacit support of China. So the only superpower rival to the United States, if he suffers tremendous sanctions, will take some of his hydrocarbon exports, some of his fossil fuel exports. It reinforces his sense of destiny within Russia. He looks on Ukraine the same way that Xi Jinping looks on Taiwan, as an essential part of Russia. He doesn't have any respect for its nationhood. And I would say to you, Ellen, this is a very unpopular judgment, but I would say Putin so far has played his hand very effectively. He has suffered very little serious penalty. In fact, the president of Ukraine in a speech in the last 12 hours, suggested that this is the result of 15 years of appeasement of Putin by the West, and I think that's right.
Well, let's go to Olga on that point. I mean, there have been talk of sanctions. What would sanctions achieve, and are these sanctions designed to do any more than the dribble of sanctions that were introduced after the annexation of Crimea?
Yeah. There was a huge discussion about, what role does the sanctions serve, right, so far, because there was a range of sanctions which Russia suffered from. They were playing a more preventative role, but actually they did not, right? As we can see, Putin is unstoppable in his decisions, right? So any inconveniences to the businesses or to some individuals, because they were against some individuals, right, of Russian nationality or the business, so they didn't touch, in a way, his own ambition. And if you look into as well, how Putin makes decisions, there's no other power of influence over him. It's different in Ukraine. There's always some business elite. There is president. There's always some tensions.
But surely, if the West wanted to get serious and say, righto, we're going to crack down on dirty Russian money in the British economy, in the French economy, in British politics, in French politics, he would have some oligarchs on his doorstep at the Kremlin going, OK, this is enough. You need to stop this.
Yeah. We had a discussion about this. But what I'm hearing is that all the oligarchs as well in Russia, they were made by Putin. It's all his friends, colleagues. So they're his pocket oligarchs. I don't think it really actually, presses him that much. So he will find some agreement with them, or he'll please them somehow. The thing is that Biden has already actually signed. I think 2 hours ago, Biden signed off on sanctions against some investments which will potentially be coming to DNR and LNR, people who and businesses who are involved with supporting or funding these two independent republics, right? They will be under sanctions. Their properties, their wealth that is in the West will be under sanctions.
But only in these two areas.
Yeah, so this is what maybe there'll be more, right? So definitely I think West has to do more. West was doing well in, supporting us verbally, I would say, right? And saying that we're ally. Again, we're not a NATO member, so they're not obliged legally to protect us as well. So will they send troops to Ukraine? Possibly not, right? Possibly they'll be just watching and, doing sanctions or, making some claims again in media. But will they really get involved? That's doubts, right, about that.